Is over. So first of all, I really want to thank everyone for joining today. I'm really grateful and appreciative you're here. And the plan, the ground rules is I'm going to give you a quick presentation on morning routines. What is a morning routine? Why is it important? How do you implement it? And then I'm also to mention I'm recording this, and I'm going to most likely make it available on the Builtly website, or and of course, the summary notes for sure. So the summary notes of everything is going to be on the Builtly website, because for fair warning, I'm about to fire hose you with information. So if you don't have any notes to take, it's okay. I'm going to put them on the Builtly website in the next couple of days. So with that said, let's get started with the presentation. So what is a morning routine, right? What is a morning routine? Well, a morning routine is a set of actions you complete every single morning. That's what a morning routine is. And so why is a morning routine important? Like, why would I create this entire presentation? Why would we do it the first of the month? Or no, not first of the month, like in the very early in the beginning of the year, right? Like, why is this so important? Well, there are a bunch of reasons why I think a morning routine is important, but there are three main reasons why I think a morning routine is really powerful. The first is to cultivate an optimistic and positive mindset, right? And so, listen, we all have experienced in our lives when, we have that attitude when, there's like a cloud hanging over us and we're just not in a very good mood. Maybe we're angry or frustrated, and it's like, we're not the nicest people to be around. On the flip side, it's like when you have that positive mindset, it's like you see the world a completely different way. And it's like how you show up in the world, how you treat other people, how you treat yourself is completely differently when you have a positive mindset. Okay. And so positive mindset's like building a muscle. It's not something that just, shows up, right? In fact, we've got these, survival software in our brains that tend to focus on threats versus focus on all the amazing things in our lives. And so cultivating a positive mindset is incredibly powerful. And that's one of the reasons why morning routines are so important, because it helps us do that. Secondly, is to build confidence and self-belief, right? And so that's a very powerful reason, because you are really powerful, right? There are some times when maybe we can feel powerless. We go into victim mode, which is precisely the opposite of the truth, right? We always have really nearly infinite power from which we can achieve whatever we want to achieve, right? We can create a vision in our minds and make it real with confidence and self-belief. And that's what a morning routine can help us build, right? It's like building that muscle. It's building the belief in ourselves that we can achieve what we want to achieve and we can be who we want to be. And the third reason is to condition your mind and body to take action. And I don't mean like, running around like a chicken with your head cut off, anxiously taking action. I mean, deciding and taking action and knowing that you can accomplish what you need to accomplish. And just in terms of an example of kind of taking action, how many of us have been in a situation where we don't want to work out or we don't want to do some type of activity, right? Everyone has. And here's the thing. And then all of a sudden, maybe you do that activity in your workout, and then after, you're like, oh man, I'm so happy that I did that. Right? So just before, you're like, man, I really don't want to do that workout. I really don't want to do that exercise or whatever. And then after, you feel amazing, right? All of us have been there. And so a morning routine can help us build that condition, like help us condition ourselves to just take action and overcome some of that resistance when we know we should do something, but sometimes we don't really want to do it, right? It's like, but we know inside in our hearts that we should do it. And so that's another very powerful benefit of a morning routine. So those are three reasons. So now I want to share with you a few examples of luminaries who have morning routines. Okay. And so I chose these people because they're famous and from my perspective, they're purposeful. There are many people out there that they're out there who have morning routines. So the first is Richard Branson. And before getting into his morning routine, I want to share with you a quick thing he says about exercise. He says, I love to look after the body. If I feel great, I can achieve anything. And so here's his morning routine. His day starts out at 5 a.m. He knocks out his workout right away. And he's either playing tennis, biking, going for a run, or kite surfing. And if you've got your own private island, you can kite surf too, or maybe if you live near the water. Exercise, he claims, boosts his productivity significantly. And then he eats breakfast and spends time with his family, and then he gets down to business. Okay, so that's Richard Branson. Let me share with you number 2 is Tony Robbins. And so Tony Robbins has helped popularize the whole idea of a morning routine. And so he has a very powerful quote I'm going to share with you right now. I think it encapsulates this whole presentation. I don't hope that I'm going to have a great perspective on the day. I prime my nervous system, I prepare it, and I train it for the perspective I want. Very powerful. So here's what he does. He wakes up, jumps in the hot tub, and then jumps into a cold plunge. Of course, for us, we might not have a hot tub and a cold plunge. We might, hot shower, cold shower, right? Number 2, he takes time for gratitude for 3 things. Third is he feels the presence of God. He has a meditation practice, so to speak. And then 4th, he thinks about 3 to thrive. The 3 things he wants to accomplish or create in his life, and he sees them and experiences them as already completed. So then the third person I would like to mention is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. All right. So very impressive guy. And so here's what he says. And his morning routine is like legendary at this point. He gets up, probably 4 a.m. every day. And so here's what he says. The only thing that's regimented is I have to wake up before the sun gets up, he said. And I have my 2 hours alone when no one else is up and the house is quiet. He continues, I often sacrifice 2 hours of sleep just so I can have the quiet 2 hours that I need before the whole house wakes up, including the animals. And then he says, I need the mental time in the beginning. And the next thing is my training time. He said, those are my 2 anchors. And once I'm able to anchor myself, I'm able to go to work. So that's really powerful. The morning routine is like an anchor for him, right? It anchors him. And so the next part, I just want to share you kind of my own personal routine, what I do. And I've done the last, at least several years. And this has evolved and it's changed, but I'm going to share with you, what I've been doing. And so first I get up typically at 6 a.m. or earlier. Okay. I make my bed. I do a cold shower. So I'm usually doing a cold shower about a minute from when I wake up, usually. So I like to just get straight in there and do a cold shower. And you might be thinking, what are you doing a cold shower for? Well, we'll get into that, but it helps build that positive kind of action-taking muscle. And by the way, an important thing in terms of the cold shower is I just breathe regularly. So I'm just breathing like I am now, completely relaxed. I breathe slowly, 6-8 breaths a minute. I usually just do it for 60 seconds. Then I get ready in the bathroom and I do a morning mobility or workout right after that. Okay. So typically so workouts are usually a few times a week in the morning. And I used to never work out in the morning, but since COVID, it's just worked. It's really worked well. And I tend to find when I do that workout in the morning, it tends to lead to just positive habits throughout the day. And my morning mobility, it's really just every day. I do it at least once a day. And so that's kind of connecting and opening up my body. And then as the last 6 months, I do a meditation for about 10, 20 minutes. Then hyperhydration. I drink 30 ounces of water. I want to get some water in me. And then I get dressed. I do some affirmations. I ask some morning questions, kind of gratitude. And then I set the intention for the day. And then I have nutritious shake. So that sounds like a lot. It takes about an hour and a half. And so if you just have like 10 minutes, you're like, man, I need to start off for like 10 minutes. If I only had 10 minutes, and which is sometimes what happens, I personally will do a cold shower, get ready, do a quick spider stretch with rotation, which I've shared on the YouTube channel. And if you've done the Built Lean program, that's a core component of our warm up. And then I set the intention, like what would make today great? And then that's it. 10 minutes. It helps me shift so that I can show up in the world and be a better person, really be a better version of myself, which is what we all want, right? And so I want to share with you some other morning routine habit ideas. And I know everyone on this call has probably some really cool, interesting morning routine ideas. I just want to share with you some that I've come across and tested over the years. So one is power breathing or pranayama. And so I typically will do this kind of after my workout or after my morning mobility, then do some power breathing, then maybe a little meditation. That's what I've done many times. Drink tea. Drinking tea can kind of slow down the nervous system in case you feel some anxiety. It can really slow things down and relax you. And then you can write a bunch of thoughts on the page. Like if you just have all these thoughts in your head and you just get them out on a page, just write them out. Another idea is write a full page of gratitude, right? You can do that as you have your tea. Going for a walk is another morning habit. Daily alignment with your wife or partner. And then consider planning. So these are just some other ideas. And in terms of the sequence of all these things actually does have an impact. So you can kind of play around with them. Like I personally like doing kind of like the breathing meditation stuff after morning mobility. And I like doing the cold shower first thing. It just shifts right away. It's like a state change. So I personally like the sequence I shared with you is it's very, I've tested it, it's battle tested. So you can, of course, figure out the best sequence that works for you. And then last thing I think we're going to mention, I think this is the last thing actually in this whole presentation, is just some implementation tips. Okay. So a morning routine is 7 days a week, right? It's not like a 5-day-a-week thing. It's a 7-day-a-week thing, just as the earth revolves around the sun, right? The earth isn't like, hey, dude, sun, I don't think about this. I don't know about this. I don't want to revolve around you anymore. We create that consistency in our own life, right? It's a morning routine is something that we do every day to stay grounded. And I find that it also compounds and it kind of improves over time. So next is some people, and this might sound like hyper regimented. Some people like timestamp it. So if you're like a super busy person, again, I don't know, like everyone has their own situation. Maybe you're running multiple businesses. Maybe you just have a busy family. Who knows? You might want to timestamp it so that you get up at a certain hour and you're done by a certain hour. And you just know that like, okay, I've got it in. And so that's just an idea. Another thing to consider is generally waking up at a consistent time tends to make following a morning routine easier, right? So if you need to catch up on sleep, the best thing is to just go to sleep earlier. The idea is that getting up early in the morning, I think it's foundational to having a morning routine and making time for it, right? Because if we sleep in every day, it might not happen, right? Of course, you can figure this out and do this on your own. I'm just presenting to you some ideas that you can consider, right? Because you're the creator, you have the power, you're going to figure this out. So last couple of things, I would pretty strongly recommend this. Emails, messages, social media after the morning routine, not before, for sure. Because the social media messages, all the emails and everything, it makes us get into a state of reaction versus being proactive, right? It's like reactive versus proactive. And the whole point of the morning routine is to help prime our bodies and minds for action, for having a positive attitude, for responding and being proactive versus reactive. Whereas emails and messages and social media, all that stuff, it can basically prevent the whole thing from happening that we want to happen. And so the last thing is play around with it, see what works for you and have fun with it.